There's a period in my life that I would consider the greatest 2 minutes of my entire life. That happened in 2022. I did a watch along of the entire World Cup. Every minute. I'm on the East Coast of the US. I was waking up at 4 a.m. We on stream, we streamed every minute of the World Cup. And we watched the whole thing. And for my trouble, I was rewarded with the most glorious 2 minutes of my entire life. And that was when Costa Rica and Japan were about to knock out Germany and Spain in a World Cup group. Lasted 2 minutes, then Germany scored like 87 goals, and it came crashing down violently. But for 2 minutes, it was possible. It was this bolt of lightning, this like adrenaline shot. You wake you up in the morning, the sort of thing that coffee is supposed to do, except that you were high on life. You were delirious for those 2 minutes. I wish I could pause time and go back to that point and just walk around in it for longer. But I've realized but I actually don't need to do that because AFCON is just that feeling perpetually, forever, unforgivingly. Like if I was actually a fan of one of the African nations, I would want to cancel the tournament because I feel like it would provide me such stress and anxiety and pain. Like if I was an African nation fan, just for whatever reason, I would lose my mind. I might need therapy just because of what happens in the Africa Cup of Nations. And it's every 2 years. It's every 2 years. And if you haven't been paying attention to AFCON, let me just clue you in here. Everybody loses all the time. Like Argentina, Saudi Arabia, chump change. Argentina, Saudi Arabia is like a completely normal day in AFCON. I don't know how this is possible. In AFCON 2 years ago, this isn't even getting to today, which is why I'm sitting here at 1 a.m. talking about the Africa Cup of Nations. But 2 years ago, Comoros, that island over there that you, unless you're really into geography, have never heard of or have watched AFCON, apparently, they knocked Ghana out of AFCON. The same Ghana that scared some of the only remaining wrinkles that haven't been ironed off Cristiano Ronaldo's face. That even makes sense. I don't know. You know what I mean? I feel like he's been, all right, well, he looks good. He looks better than me. He looks younger than me somehow. Maybe he's doing what that CEO's doing to like try and de-age or something. This is not the point. But Comoros knocked Ghana out of the tournament. Multiple time winners. The same Ghana team that then went to the World Cup and scared the bejesus out of a couple of the best teams in the world. That Ghana team, which, yeah, literally that Ghana team, they just lost to Comoros. They got a red card in there at some point, but then why are you getting a red card against Comoros? And they put themselves in the position to get knocked out with a loss to Comoros in the final day, which you have to suck pretty hard to get to that point in the first place. That's no disrespect to Comoros. They actually looked pretty good and helped me learn where they are on a map. But I decided, based off that, I would pay attention to AFCON this year, and I've been so wholly rewarded with chaos that this is maybe my favorite tournament on the planet now, and I'm glad that it happens every 2 years because just today, that same Ghana team that lost in the AFCON group stages, then went to the World Cup only to get, really competitive results, has returned to AFCON to get absolutely stunned by Mozambique. Now, Mozambique is a country with an AK-47 on its flag, which isn't irrelevant at all. I just feel the need to point it out because, wow, power move. They were down 2-0 at the start of the 91st minute of play. They're losing 2-0, which means Ghana is going through comfortably, not even worrying about it. They are in second place, right? Ghana's up 2-0. They're against Mozambique, who has 1 point, and that point was, granted in a draw against Egypt. But as we've covered up to this point, that's a pretty standard day as far as AFCON is concerned. So Mozambique shows up and then gets a penalty in the 91st minute. And of course, that doesn't matter because Ghana's up 2-1. But as you probably figured out, Mozambique scores again. Mozambique scores a goal with seconds remaining in the 94th minute to knock Ghana out of the tournament. That put Ghana in third place with 2 points. Now, at the exact same time that this was going on. The exact same time. And this is not the only thing I'm going to talk about in this day. Egypt is fighting for its life against Cape Verde. Now, if you didn't know there were this many islands off the coast of Africa, you're not alone. But Cape Verde's over there. It's on the other coast. It's the smallest country in the tournament. Like less than 700,000 people live in Cape Verde. But they have a big diaspora in Portugal. So they get all these guys from the Portuguese leagues and apparently just beat everybody up. Well, they take the lead against Egypt. Well, Egypt's over here fighting for oxygen too. Mo Salah doesn't have a hamstring. They've been out of pharaohs for like 2,000 years. And they're just desperate for anything. And they've won more AFCONs than anybody, by the way. So if you're talking about disrespecting the best teams, this is like Brazil winning the most Copa Americas and then all of a sudden struggling against Bolivia, to get out of the group stage. That's not a direct one-to-one comparison, but who cares? That's not what I'm here for. What I'm here for is Cape Verde taking the lead against Egypt. And then Egypt fighting all the way back. Egypt's thinking they have to win to have a chance to go through to the next round. So they win, because if you finish in second, then you go through, and an Egypt win puts them on 5 points, and so they're okay. But then Cape Verde scores in the 100th minute. At the same time, Mozambique is scoring 2 goals against Ghana. At the exact same time, this is all happening. And what were you doing? You were watching Brighton against Wolves probably, or procrastinating on your homework. You need to be watching this. It's ridiculous. Now, at the time, the Egyptian players thought that goal might cost them a spot in the knockouts because that was going to put them in third, because obviously they didn't know that Mozambique, behind its AK-47 and sickle and hammer, had pulled out like 2 goals in 2 seconds to draw Ghana. So now Ghana's in third with 2 points. They're almost definitely not going through. Mozambique needed to win the game in order to actually go through, which they didn't do. So technically they're still upset because they're still out, even though they scored 2 goals right at the end of the match. And Cape Verde won the group, the smallest country in the whole tournament. Who is Cape Verde? The team that won the group. And like I said, that wasn't the only thing that happened on this day, because this is the point where you actually learn like a stone cold fact. AFCON's being hosted in Ivory Coast. Cool, right? Ivory Coast are the host. They start the tournament with a 2-0 win. Well, we get to this day, 3 hours before the Ghana and Egypt disaster class, the Mozambique and Cape Verde heroic moment. We have Equatorial Guinea, which is, as you might have guessed, on the equator. It is also the second smallest. It's the second smallest team in the entire tournament. Second smallest team in the entire tournament. And, oh yeah, they beat Ivory Coast 4-0. All Ivory Coast has to do is not lose to Equatorial Guinea. All they have to do is not lose. And they are guaranteed to go through. A 4-point team, even if they're in third place, is going to go through in this tournament format. Obviously, they would love to win, even though they just lost to Nigeria. This is your old bounce back game. The signs were there that Equatorial Guinea was dangerous. They drew Nigeria in the opening game, and you're thinking, oh, that's as crazy as AFCON can get. And then they beat Guinea-Bissau in the Derby of the Guineas, because we all know Papua New Guinea can't hang, and Guinea's in a different group, so we don't get to see that one either. For all I know, that's going to be the final, because we get to the final match, and Ivory Coast promptly gets absolutely dump trucked. I mean, hit sticked. I mean, Brazil, Germany, 2014. This was that apocalyptic. This was a meltdown. This was a complete implosion. The star died. This is the ghost of Didier Drogba, even though he's still alive, will haunt the memory of this game. I don't even know what that means, but it sounds accurate, because Ivory Coast lost to Equatorial Guinea while hosting AFCON 4-0. 4. With more than 3. 4-0 to Equatorial Guinea. Equatorial Guinea's forward is a guy named Emiliano Insue. Okay, how crazy is this, right? Ivory Coast has talent, raw talent. They do. Nicola Pepe, even though he wasn't like the stunning success in the Premier League, somebody paid 70 million for this guy to come play for them within the last 6 or 7 years. That guy is rolling up on this team, going up against the striker from Equatorial Guinea, whose name is Emiliano Nsue. Now, Emiliano Nsue is 34. He plays for a third division side in Spain as a defender, and he is the forward for Equatorial Guinea that makes the difference. He scored 2 goals against Ivory Coast. A third division Spanish league defender put 2 goals past Ivory Coast at their AFCON. Normally, I'd be sitting here saying, well, that means the whole tournament is terrible. But Ivory Coast has a good team. There is something that happens when the whistle blows at the start of AFCON, where it feels like everybody's overall rating, no matter what team they're playing on, is turned to the exact same thing. Because Ivory Coast players at the end of this match were as dumbfounded as you are right now learning that this happened. Equatorial Guinea won the group ahead of Nigeria, and the 4-0 win damages Ivory Coast's goal difference to such a degree that they now are really sweating it out with 3 points and a -3 goal difference in third place in their own tournament. Equatorial Guinea got 7 points. They got 4 points from Nigeria and Ivory Coast. Who the hell is Equatorial Guinea? And that was one day. One day. Namibia beat Tunisia, and I didn't even fit that into this video. That was their first win in AFCON. Tunisia beat France at the World Cup. 2 groups have been finished in AFCON so far, and Equatorial Guinea and Cape Verde, the 2 smallest countries, won those 2 groups, and they finished ahead of Egypt, Nigeria, Ghana, and Ivory Coast. And those 4 teams own more than half of all AFCONs that have ever been won. And they just got rinsed. And it's so crazy that the one match day before this video would actually come out, Algeria played Mauritania, which normally, who cares? But it's AFCON, so it's relevant. And all Algeria had to do was not lose. And you know where this is going. They lost. That's why I'm here in the future telling you that they lost to Mauritania, a team that releases their lineup with a player named AK-47 in it. I don't know the story behind that. I just know that it happened. Why? But that is so unserious. That is so cripplingly unserious. Unless there's some super heartfelt reason behind that. That, like, you lost to that Mauritania. It's Mauritania's first ever win at AFCON, and now they are going to the knockouts ahead of Algeria. And they're a better third place team than Ivory Coast on goal difference because Ivory Coast went and lost to Equatorial Guinea by 47. None of it makes any sense. But what is fun, hopefully, for you, is that in the description there is a channel where we will be posting a lot more casual videos like this one, talking about whatever is going on in the soccer and footballing world. It's called Zealandism. It's down in the description if you wanted to check it out. I just wanted to post one of those types of videos here on this channel so that if you enjoyed it, you could go there. But I'll see you there. I gotta go now. I gotta go to sleep.